guess what's back? Quilters vibe, yay! So this is the inspiration piece that Sarah has chosen for us, and I am going to combine today's Quilters vibe with Shimelle's doing a new class as of March 2020. All her classes can be accessed anytime though, it's just currently live, and it is based on sketches, and so there are 15 sketches and 3 interpretations of each sketch. So I am going to use the first sketch to base this layout on. It'll be interpretation 2, I think, of the first sketch. Yeah, obviously I can't show the actual sketch because it's class material, but this is fine. And in fact, Shimelle did something very similar in one of her Friday lives. She did her Friday live layout based on the first sketch, so it was like a bonus extra interpretation. But what I can tell you is that it is a grid-like layout, and that means that my Quilters vibe is going to be more vibey and less exact. This would be really easy to translate to a layout because it's just squares, and there are just 2 types of blocks, solid squares and half square triangles, which is just a coloured square split in half with a white square. I'm going to use this photo, and the boys coincidentally I didn't dress them matchily. I thought blues and greens, oddly it's a colour I don't use often. I don't know why, what possessed me to do that. Not even this khaki kind of green that they're wearing. There's a particular paper with these flowers from Maggie Holmes', oh gosh, Willow Lane. And I've got my box of die cut flowers, and so I fussy cut most of it. And what I really liked was the soft peachy pink. That collection has quite a few blues and greens, including some dark blue. All the flowers have sort of stitching detail, and if I had the time and patience it would be kind of awesome to hand stitch them, but I don't, so I'm not going to do that. But I will stitch on the actual blocks. Anyway, so I thought that I would also incorporate a peachy pink because the background of the grid sort of layout, the squares, they don't butt up against each other, although of course you could do that. But I like that they don't, because then you can sort of overlap different elements, and grid stuff is not something I do a lot of. I'm always willing to try it when it comes up. I thought initially, because there's only going to be a sort of a border, I printed this just a smidge under 4 inches, but if I'm going to leave gaps between each block, I'm going to have to take this down a little bit more. I was imagining the soft pinks from Shimelle's very first collection. This one in particular, but I only had it in the paper pad, and the colours in paper pads are just not right. So I wanted it, I looked everywhere to try and find it in a like the double-sided, and I know I've got it, but I don't know where. So I pulled out this one, which is another one from her collection. You can see the difference. It should be this color. This one should be this colour. It's a lot more yellow and orangey, and it just plays up all the flesh in this photo, and it kind of made me feel sick. And I'm not squeamish when it comes to stuff like that, but it just did. So it gives me a chance to raid the scrap pile, which you can sort of see over here. I did one pass in the scrap bin of all different shades of blue and green. So yeah, I think I'm good. And there's some really small ones and some big ones and all kinds. So I want to cover the different shades of green through to blue. Like the example quilt, what I will do is keep the white, or in my case I thought I would use this. It's not exactly cream, it's a bit deeper, it's more of an oatmeal, and I'm pretty sure that polka dots are cream, but in comparison they look white, so I probably can mix creams and whites in it. It should be quite forgiving. Because I'm going to stitch the pieces, I'm going to make some templates of just scrap cardstock and then stitch on top of that all my bits. So when I've got those done, I will be back and show you how it's all going to turn out. So what I've done is I've cut down some pieces of cardstock to just act as little templates for my 9 blocks on the page, and made them sort of 3/16 of an inch. I calculated they should be in order to get a roughly an 1/8 of an inch margin, but yeah, I'll see how they go. I haven't placed them on the sheet just yet, which I probably should. Cut down maybe 4 or 5 of these, because even one cut in half I can use that for 2 squares. Does that make sense? What I'm going to do is sort through this pile and put them pretty much in order of sort of light colours basically, and then try and figure out how I'm going to do it, whether I'm going to do like a gradient or just do sort of columns like the inspiration piece has. So they've just got a different shade and then it just goes straight down. A lot of these I think are from my Wonder Woman layout, where I just took off one tiny little corner, and after that they end up in the scrapbook, so it would be nice to breathe some life into them. What I have to do now is figure out which of my squares are going to be what and cut them down. I will be back when I have all my squares. So I used one of these squares as a template and I cut a different one of those into a half and then the other half into quarters. I cut heaps more squares than what I need because I decided that I'm going to do some of them as half square triangles, some of them as quarter square, and even the ones that I thought I'd leave solid to keep in theme with the inspiration quilt, I will still piece them, probably out of quarters. I'll construct everything out of quarters, but it'll depend. I'll vary how many quarters are cream and how many are green or blue. It'll be a lot more patchworky, I guess. The inspiration piece is quite a modern quilt, so here it is. It's quite a modern one, so I'm going to sort of bring vintage back into it. The next step is I'm going to cut everything into quarters, I think, and then I'll have a chance to play around with them, see what the distribution of colour is like, because that's the other reason I cut more than what I needed, because I'm not going to know exactly until I spread it out and have a little look whether I need more of this and more of that. Here we go. Little 8 squares. The photo is going to go in the middle. According to the sketch, there's title here, journaling part of this square here, a big embellishment here and here, and then maybe something smaller across that diagonal. I'm going to start playing around with the different patterns and the plain ones and just messing about and seeing how they look and all that kind of thing. What's in my head may very well not translate to the paper, like at all. So it is a very real risk, but I should actually have the adhesive handy just in case I like what I see. Here we go. I'll put it on fast forward because, yeah, it's probably going to take a while. Glued down, and I haven't decided on the order yet, so this is what it's going to look like with the picture, which I will put probably on some kind of a mat. I've got a few options here and so many leftover triangles that I didn't use. I'll have to use them on a card or something. Anyway, so now I'm going to stitch them. What I will probably do is a loose kind of a zigzag along the outlines, and I think I would like to ink the edges. I didn't want to ink each individual edge because I want them to look like one quilt block rather than sort of separate entities. Does that make sense? I will do all that stitching and then I will be right back. All stitched down, although not very perfectly. The machine was skipping and jumping in some spots, so I think it needs a service, but at least it's going to be sort of fairly consistent across all of them. So let's see. Before I keep changing it, I'm going to glue them down. I think what I'll do is lightly tack them in place, because I might have to move them, keep moving them. I know Shimelle had a special trick for getting them nice and straight and perfect on her layout, but I can't be bothered, to be honest. Besides, I'm not sure my spacing is going to be forgiving enough. I need to ink them and then glue them down properly in their exact little positions. I have stuck all these down quite firmly with glue dots. The spacing is a little bit random, but that's okay because everything else is a bit haphazard too. I've put the thinnest, albeit most uneven, dark navy border around the photo because it needed something but not a whole lot. I wanted still to see that pink. So what I need to do is get the title done, figure out what I'm going to put. Oh, hang on, I was going to do the flowers, wasn't I? I've got to pull out all the embellishment contenders, pull out some kind of stickers that might work for the title here, and then get the journaling done and everything else. It is a fairly simple one if I follow Shimelle's example, but who am I kidding? I'm always a small girl. So I'll be back with some thickers. It could take a while. The title's down. The journaling's down, messy though it is. I think it can almost be legible. I've been playing about with some of the embellishment clusters. I want the two main ones are going to go here, and then something small next to the title and the journaling, and then, like I mentioned, across the diagonal. I've already taken the time to put some ink on them, and then definitely want some word strips. They are in black, but that's okay because I inked in black and the journaling's in black, so it should be alright. Right, I think I'm just going to have to be brave and stick. There are some pop dots behind those two yellow flowers, so I'm going to stick that one flush to the page and then just let the leaves flap about. Actually, I might put one on this. There's a little yellow flower there. I may have to switch to a glue dot at some stage. Because the stitching tends to be a bit lumpy. Those other small bits I'm just going to slip in. The method for my positioning is I don't want to cover any particular single triangle, so there's enough of the pattern can be seen. I don't much care whether it can be all seen or whatever, but yeah, because then by the time I add this, now I can pull the backings off. Actually, the pop dots are quite firm, so I'm just thinking I might actually put a bit of tape across that because it's fake washi tape. See how this one looks. because I'm trying to build up the pink. Oh, and I wanted to bring in those stitched leaves on this side. And these little teeny flowers. Now, cluster down here. I thought I'd do the opposite by putting pop dots on the main flower. Cut down this 3, and that's going to be legible even if most of it's covered up because it's so big. I'm going to get rid of this leaf. Stick those down first and then come back with the flower, hopefully. This leaf is about to fall off. Now I did have some of these flowers for this side too. Did I ink them? No, I didn't. Where's my inky thing gone? I have to be really careful with them because they are literally hanging by a thread. I pulled out butterflies from the, oh maybe this, I can slip that under even as well, and that's a sticker. Oh, except it would help if I wasn't shoving it in upside down. ended up pulling butterflies from the sticker sheet and the sticker book, partly because they had a white halo, and partly because they were a lot smaller than the ones that I had fussy cut. And I think this is going to be a better option. But they're from that same collection. First thing I think I want to do is put a blue one here. Yeah, popped up, definitely. Add a little bit of tape somewhere here. I want some more here. I'm thinking about some more here. Definitely want a butterfly in each of these places. No, I think maybe this one needs to go here. Yeah. A butterfly here, here and here. I don't want the yellow one there. This is probably the smallest. Now there were some really nice words and I just want to find some for the last little finishing touch. Okay, I've chosen these because they both have the word you, and you can be either plural or singular in English. Whereas something like my darling is singular and there's two of them. So I'm just going to stick them up there for now. See what else I can find. Yeah, there were lots of some words in the white. Okay, so I have got 2 black word strips for each spot and a long white one which I'm going to have to cut up. So I'm going to play around with those. Nearly done. The last thing is definitely some kind of knot paper or stickery type of stuff, and that would be enamel dots or gems or pearls or something. I definitely would like some in the centres of the flowers and possibly in some of the other areas. Oh, and maybe a bit of gold. This has the tiniest bit of gold, so perhaps some gold hearts. That could work. I'll add that before I forget. I wish I hadn't put that so low down. Never mind. Oh, I could actually move this. Okay, that's a bit better. Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about it, but never mind. It's there now. And 2 pink ones. What I'm thinking of doing is if I put, say, 2 of one and 1 of another, in like say 2 yellow and 1 pink in each of these areas, it will just be repeating what I've already used. I won't be using any fresh ones. I'm going to leave it before I ruin it. Oh, I need to add the date. I will add the date and then I will leave it. And head on over to my blog. There will be some more close-ups. There will be some still pictures. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to see what the other girls made who do Quilters vibe. I think it's Daisie, Christy and of course Sara. So head on over to their channels, which I will link below. And thanks again. Bye!